Subject Measurement and Metrology. Practical number 3. Aims to study measure various dimensions using dial gauge and slip gauge. Dial gauge. The principle of the dial gauge or dial indicator is based on the rack and pinion mechanism, which serves to convert minutes linear motion into amplified rotary motion. The core component is sliding plunger or spindle that moves reciprocally up and down when it contacts the surface being measured. The lower parts of this plunger act as a rack, a linear gear bar that meshes with a small rotating gear known as pinion. As the plunger moves linear small due to surface variation, it turns the pinion, initiating the movement of the internal mechanism. Now we will see the figure of this dial gauge. Slip gauge. The working principle of a slip gauge relies on the physical phenomenon known as ringing, which allows multiple gauge blocks to adhere to one another without the use of any external magnetic force or adhesive. Slip gauges are rectangular blocks made of high-grade steel, tungsten carbide, or ceramic, manufactured with extreme precision to ensure that their measuring faces are perfectly flat and parallel. Because these surfaces are finished to such a high degree of smoothness, left to a minor finish when two blocks are pressed and slide against each other in a specific twisting motion, the air between them is expelled. Now we will see the image of slip gauges. Procedure. The process begins with the preparation of the surface plate, which serves as the reference plane for all measurement. Both the surface plate and the workpiece must be thoroughly cleaned with a soft cloth and suitable cleaning agent to remove any dust, grease, or oil that could cause inaccuracies. Similarly, the slip gauges are selected to match the nominal target dimension of the workpiece. These gauges must be cleaned and wrung together, twisted with slight pressure to expel air and bond them to create a solid stake of the exact required height. The dial gauge is then mounted on a rigid stand such as magnetic base and placed on the surface plate ready for calibration. Procedure. Setting the master reference zeroing. Once the setup is ready, the stake of slip gauges is placed beneath the plunger of the dial gauge to establish a datum or 0 point. The dial gauge is lowered carefully until the plunger touches the top of the slip gauges and the needle rotates slightly, ensuring there is sufficient contact pressure. The outer bezel of the dial gauge is then rotated manually until the 0 mark aligns perfectly with the indicator needle. At this stage, the dial gauge is calibrated to the exact dimension of the slip gauges. For instance, if the slip gauge stake is 50 mm, the 0 on the dial now represents exactly 50 mm. Thank you.